Okay, good morning, it's not morning, it's evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Third Ward Town Hall meeting. This is the first town hall meeting of 2022, and we had one on Tuesday, which was focused on the South Loop. And today's town hall is focused on Bronzeville, Washington Park, and Fuller Park. So I want to thank you all for taking time out of your schedules to show up tonight. I hope you're staying safe and warm. There's a lot going on in and around our ward, and so look forward to this meeting. Want to ask all our participants to please pose your question in the Q&A box. We will get to them as we can. We did receive some questions ahead of time and related to some of the presentations this evening. And so we'll ask those questions. You might hear your question being asked to one of the presenters. So we have 6 items on the agenda this evening, and we're going to start with our first item, which is the public safety update from our commander, Joshua Wallace from the 2nd District.
Good evening, everyone. As you said, Commander Wallace, 2nd District. I just want to start by saying I want 2022 to be a lot better than 2021 was. We struggled. We struggled without a doubt. The homicide rate within this particular area skyrocketed, and it's like something I had never seen before. So, you know, we're taking a new and focus on it. We also, you know, we had an increase across all crime categories, which honestly caught my district, my leadership by off guard. But again, this is 2022. I can say that I've been given additional resources to help me address those issues moving forward in 2022. With being given additional officers, and I put those officers on shifts that saw the most increase in crime across the 24-hour period. So in the afternoons, I have more officers working. In the overnight shifts, I have more officers working as well. In addition to that, also I have resources that I can call on from the department. Additional resources when we may have issues, whether it be, you know, an uptick in gang violence or just an uptick in overall violence that, you know, maybe the 2nd District cannot necessarily handle on their own. I do have resources on call that I can call, bring them in and help assist us in that manner as well. We're also looking to, so every year we do a plan, an enforcement plan, or how we want to approach things, because we all know that when it's cold outside, crime tends to, you know, be a little less obvious or whatnot. But as it gets warmer, more people are out, more people are trying to enjoy themselves, and we tend to have more crime. So we're getting our enforcement plan and our plan of action together sooner, so we can implement it sooner. So maybe we can go in ahead of the game this summer and definitely take suggestions and concerns from citizens as well as to what they would like to see this summer, or you know, how we can assist them or partner with them this summer. We're also doing there's a lot we're doing with technology as well. We partnered with the alderman in regards to more cameras. We're also partnering with businesses as well, asking them to take a look at being able to connect their cameras to OEMC to make it available to the city. So we were able to utilize their cameras quicker, instead of having to wait for maybe a 24-hour period or wait for a manager to come in. We have access and we can see what's going on in those particular hotspots. The department has also set up a tip line now in regards to murders and gun trafficking. So they're offering substantial reward money in regards to information leading to charges for murder, and also additional money leading to convictions of that murder. And they're also offering up to $3,000 for convictions for trafficking 10 or more guns. And then there's an additional money that's available as well. So we're trying to get people to or citizens to help us, in turn reward them. And I think, honestly, that's a big thing, building the trust with the community. So this is one way to attempt to build the trust. And also I want to piggyback on that. Engagement is the number one thing for the Chicago Police Department this year, and as well as the second district, getting out there, getting to know our citizens, engaging, discussing, hearing the concerns, hearing the compliments. And the engagement component is from the top down, from me all the way to the basic beat officer. All officers are expected to be out, get to know the community that they serve. We're really trying to get back to the old model of beat integrity. You know the citizens who live on the beat, you know who lives there, you know who works there, and you definitely recognize who may not necessarily be there on a regular basis. So we're and it's a young district, and we're really trying to get them up on what they need to know as young police officers. So I really want to win this year. Last year was a tough year for the second district, and I'm used to winning while being in the second district. And for me, honestly, it was a loss, and it doesn't sit well with me. So hopefully with your help, we can definitely win this year as we move forward.
Thank you, Commander. Can you let people know? Can you let people know that you have a captain now?
Oh, yes. I was without a captain for quite some time. So now I have, he's called my executive officer, Captain David Harris.
Is.
Oh, I don't see him. So, okay.
Here.
All right. So I do have a captain, and he's excellent, an excellent addition to my team.
Thank you. Captain Harris, would you like to say a few words to the third warders here tonight?
Sure, absolutely. Good evening. I'm Captain David Harris. I am Commander Wallace's executive officer. I'm the second in charge when he's not in here. When he's not present, I take over the reins of the district. And just to echo what the commander was saying, our goal this year is to get in front of issues that we saw last year. So hopefully we don't have a repeat of those same problems. I could say in the 6 months that I've been here, we've had an excellent working relationship with Alderman Dowell and her team. And we're here to work as a team to serve all of you.
Thank you, Captain Harris. For the commander and captain, we have received a couple of questions ahead of time, and there is one in the Q&A, so I wanted to raise them. The first question comes from a resident of Bronzeville who's asking, how can they get consistent enforcement of parking violations in our alley? And the example that they raised is, for years, our condo has complained about patrons of Alice's, the barbecue place on 43rd Street, parking in the alley and blocking our ability to get to our parking area. They get some immediate relief after a complaint is lodged at CAPS meetings, but there's no permanent solution to enforcing parking restrictions. Can you address that? We can't get home. Can you address that?
I can address that, yes. So, that is the beat officer's responsibility. There's no reason that shouldn't be something on their to-do list on a daily basis. I'm a person of routine. So when you're in that beat car, you should have a routine. You should be aware of the problem areas on your beat, and parking enforcement is a problem. So we will definitely take note of that. I will ensure that that is because I know primarily that happens on our afternoon shift going into the early morning. So I will ensure that that's addressed with their watch operations lieutenant and ensure that that's taken care of on a daily basis, not just when a call is made.
All right, another question is from a resident of Washington Park. At a community meeting held last year in October with yourself, Deputy Chief Fred McLean, and the University of Chicago Police, they asked for more resources in the form of bike and foot patrol, as well as having more police present in violence zones. Can you give us an update on our requests?
So in regard to bike patrols, we don't have the manpower to put on bikes at this current time. We haven't had the manpower probably for the last 2 years because it's been more vital to man our squad cars and keep our beats up. The same manpower, there's cars assigned to the violence zone. There are also additional rapid cars assigned to the violence zone. Those resources are there. I know they're there. I listen to them on the radio on a daily basis. If unfortunately, I can't put all my resources in what is considered the violence zone, but I do know it is manned on a daily basis.
Thank you, Commander. Here's another question. Did you have any tactical officers resign as a result of the police chief's order to get more officers on the beats?
I did not have officers that voluntarily gave up their position. I did have 60% of my officers put into beat cars to answer 911 calls. 60% of my tactical officers.
Okay, another question. What programs do you have in place to nurture the relationship between the police department and community residents?
So a lot of what we have to do and what we've been doing, what we started doing last year after we were able to get together after COVID, we're doing pop-ups within the community where the community policing officers would come out, whether we would barbecue or whatever it would be, but it'd be a pop-up in certain spots in the district. So we could just have that informal conversation where people felt comfortable talking to us. We can introduce ourselves, make ourselves available. Outside of that, a lot more needs to be done. Besides our CAPS meetings and whatnot, there really needs to be more, programs that are saying, hey, this is a program, this is what we do. But a lot of what we do is informal, or it's something we do once a year. In order to build this trust, it needs to be more, more fluid and more organic as we move forward. I have a great team on CAPS personnel, and I'm really looking forward to some new ideas moving forward into 2022, especially before the summer gets here, so we can really put some good things in place.
The next question is really for me, but before I answer it, can you explain what ShotSpotter is and how it's used in the 2nd District? And then I'll answer this constituent's question.
So
So
ShotSpotter is a gunfire detection system. There are sensors located all over the 3rd Ward that when a firearm is fired, that sound of gunfire is recorded through those sensors, and it can give us a precise location and a precise number of rounds that were fired. And usually when it detects, it is usually 98% certain it is gunfire, but it's simply a gunshot detection system. And so that system is manned by personnel in the 2nd District who are able to, they get an alert, they're able to go over the radio and give that information out. And they're able to respond a lot quicker than when citizens actually make the call. So officers already be responding and citizens will be calling. So it's kind of more, it's really used for a faster response to gunfire.
Okay, and so the question for me was, what is Alderman Dowell doing to remove ShotSpotter in response to the Inspector General and MacArthur Justice Center finding that it is ineffective, puts our neighbors at risk of unwanted contact with police, and costs taxpayer money? So to this particular constituent, I'm not convinced that the Justice Center findings are accurate. I believe that ShotSpotter has shown to be effective, and it has shown to save lives. As you know, because I've met with you before and your team, This is a topic of discussion in the city council, and there will be public hearings on that continuing. There is a contract in place for ShotSpotter, and at the moment, I'm in support of the use of this technology. Another question, Commander, is, we'll take a few more. What is being done about the prostitution on Prairie between 47th and 50th?
You know, we had an officer assigned to that who had a good relationship with the individuals who constantly frequent over there, and he was able to, you know, get them off the corners and move and whatnot. Unfortunately, that officer passed, and he had been in the district his whole career. He'd been here 20 years, and he knew how to talk to people and whatnot. So we, you know, again, we have a young district, and I need for officers again to learn to make that enforcement activity, that part of their daily enforcement routine, but also learn who these people are, offer them services, make an arrest if necessary, arrest anybody who's you know, trying to buy services. But you know, there's a lot of mentoring that has to go on here, and fortunately, I was able to get a few more supervisors in the last week or so. So it's mentoring and building that routine on that beat and addressing that problem, because I know it's a problem. I've been told it's a problem, and that's why I had that one particular officer addressing that issue for me. But now, again, it's time to find someone else who can step up to the plate and ensure that that's a daily routine to address that issue.
And another question, Commander, is do you have statistics that compare the number of carjackings in Bronzeville in 2021 and 2020? What's the trend?
The trend for last year, we were up 43% for carjackings in 2021. I do not have the 2020 numbers. I will say this cautiously though. Right now, we're currently down 71% so far this year. If anybody's aware, December into January of 2021 was horrendous for the second district in regards to carjackings. We were ground zero from December 20th, from December of 2020 through February of 2021. It was just unbelievable. The carjacking task force started because of the second district. But you know, we are trending down, and I say that cautiously because I hate to talk like that and then tomorrow everybody on this call got carjacked. So
I would laugh at that, Commander, but that's not funny. Okay. One of the constituents is asking, will the initiative to provide free service for automobile light repairs be extended into the third ward? I don't know what that is. Are you aware of that? Automobile light repairs?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. And then the last question before we move on, there's a couple of questions here in this set that I will answer quickly. Actually, there's two here for you. Are there specific timeframes or requirements for new officers to start demonstrating their impact in the areas mentioned so far, so the residents can manage their expectations?
You know, honestly, these young officers come from all over the country, all over the state. You know, sometimes you don't know what to expect, but you would hope that once they get off their probation period, which is 18 months, and then after their 18 months, they're able to patrol on their own, you would hope that they are field qualified and comfortable enough to engage the public on their own and take all the initiatives possible. So we typically give them that 18 months because it's their probationary period, and they get critiqued and evaluated that whole entire time. And their field training officers will write up evaluations saying they're not field qualified, they're not ready So that's typically what we give them. But I make it a very conscious effort to hit my roll calls and speak to these officers about what it means to be the Chicago police and what the citizens of the second district expect from us. And I spoke about mentoring. I have to be a better mentor to them as well if we're going to win this year. But typically 18 months until the probation ends.
And the last question is, what are the strengths of the second district? What's positive about the second district from your perspective?
Honestly, we have a great working team. Even though we may not, we experience violence, we experience things we don't necessarily, and other crime. These officers, they love coming to work. They love the community. They're engaged. If whatever I ask them to do, they go out there and do. If I say, this is what I need from you, or this block needs this, they step up to the challenge and they make it happen. I know it can be a little overwhelming for all of them, but they really show up. And that's what we need to see day in and day out. It's probably one of the toughest times in history to be law enforcement, but these young men and women come every day, they show up, they represent the second district. They make me proud to say I'm the commander of the second district. So that's one thing. Those are just a few things that I take away from the second district and these men and women who come here every day and do what they do.
Well, Commander, I want to thank you for your time this evening. As you leave, if you could leave us with some information about how we could encourage hiring within the community for Chicago police officers. Are you looking for new people to come on board? What should they do?
Go to our website, apply. And everybody says if you want police to treat you a certain way, think about that and think about becoming a police officer who can go out there and treat people the way that you think the police should treat people. It's a calling, and honestly, the calling may not be for everybody, but you don't know until you try. It's a very rewarding career, and it pays very well as well.
Okay, so thank you, Commander Wallace, and thank you, Captain Harris, for your time tonight. We will move on to our second agenda item, which is a presentation from our own third district state senator, Maddie Hunter. Hi, Senator Hunter.
Hey, Alderman and everyone. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me this evening. I live in the Washington Park community. For those who do not know, been here since 1997. And there has been a number of legislative initiatives that I've been working on, even past last year. And we started 2 weeks ago back for this year, but because of COVID, we had to cancel last week and this week. So we're home holding committee hearings. So we're still working and just doing 6 to 8 Zoom meetings per day. So this is my last one for today. This is my 8th one today. We normally go from 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. and it's every hour back to back to back to back to the point where you barely have time to go to the washroom. But anyway, it's all good work, So some of the areas one of the pieces, let me go back from last year. One of my most important pieces that I was so proud of that I worked on last year is a health and human services pillar where we restructured the entire health and human services in the state of Illinois. When I say we, I mean, I took the lead on it in the Senate, and Representative Camille Lilly took the lead on it in the House regarding, it was a Black Caucus legislative initiative. Basically, it was to eradicate racism in the state of Illinois as it relates to health and human services. And, we learned a lot because of COVID-19, it did take a major toll on our race and our people and every region of this planet, while it wreaked havoc geographically, demographically, I'm sorry, people of color have been even more susceptible to be infected with COVID, while hospital rates for Black, Latinx, and Native Americans were 4 times higher than those of whites. And institutional racism has caused communities of color suffering from a plethora of health disparities, even before the pandemic came and it took the world by storm. So this piece of legislation, it covers a number of areas. One is access to healthcare, hospital closures. The hospital closure piece came as a result of Mercy Hospital almost closing, and we intervened and stopped it, along with probably some of you all on here. A number of community leaders, including the alderman, was involved in a battery of meetings, like over 18 months, but we were able to keep it open, trying to build it back up together like it had been originally before they had a hospital change. Managed care organization reform, community health worker certification, maternal and infant mortality, mental and substance abuse treatment, hospital reform, and medical implicit bias. And another piece of legislation that I helped pass was this telehealth option, where we were expanding telehealth options for residents of the state of Illinois who are unable to get in to see a doctor, but they needed the health care. Another huge piece that I actually led in the Senate was putting more dollars in for affordable housing. We used some federal ARPA dollars, and we were able to obtain $100 million per year for the next 3 years to renovate existing buildings, as well as multi-unit buildings. And so that's over a 3-year period, then that's like $300 million. And so 25% of those dollars will go towards supportive housing as well. So we're really, really proud of that piece. As for small business development, we also used federal ARPA and CARES dollars to fund some back to work kind of initiatives for small businesses. And we do have some money left over, I understand. Had a meeting about it yesterday. So we're looking at ways on how to spend some additional dollars. I know right now they're looking at, in terms of COVID, they're looking at high infection areas, with and in poverty areas of people who hasn't been vaccinated. So we're looking at opening up more clinics for sure, and we're trying to make things a little bit more easier for small businesses whenever it's safe to do so, to go back to work. So we're looking at possibly waiving licensing fees. We're looking at creating business districts, or assessing levies, or using dollars for marketing and advertising, and hiring more workers, since so many people have just quit their jobs. And so we're looking at some of those kinds of things. And then another piece is there's a shortage of hospital workers, particularly nurses. So we're looking at giving them authority to go out the state to bring in more nurses, and identify other areas where there are nurses who we can increase their salaries to come in, as well as increase the existing nursing staff salaries, as well as other support staff in the hospital. But all of this is everything that I'm talking about. When the federal government gave us the ARPA and CARES dollars, what came along with it was some federal guidelines that we had to on how to utilize and implement those dollars. And so these are only plans. And before we can implement any plans, we need to submit them to the federal government and ask for permission to change their guidelines to amend it to make it work better here for the state of Illinois residents and state of Illinois businesses. And so I can keep you guys posted. I put mostly everything on my Facebook and in my webpage. And you can join my webpage, receive my newsletter, maddihunter.com. If you have any questions, you can please call my office at 312-949-1908. We've been closed because of COVID, but we're working from home, and we're returning phone calls and returning emails and responding to people as we normally would if we were in person. So Alderman, thank you very much. And I can take some questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Senator Hunter. I want to publicly thank you for all the work that you've done in bringing resources back, the Back to Business grant program. The governor, as you know, was in the Bronzeville community.
Yes, forgot that, yeah.
As Sip and Savor, and he talked about the role of the state legislature in making that $250 million available to small businesses throughout the state. And there's $111 million left. So I would encourage people who know people who have businesses that want support to reach out to Senator Hunter or to the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity.
Right.
Application. Thank you, Senator.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed that press conference today. We had back-to-back hearings, and I was chairing them, and I couldn't get somebody to take my place. So, but I knew you were there.
Okay. I wanted to thank you and then move on to. There's no other questions in the chat. In the Q&A box related to your work, Senator. The next presentation is the Seoul City Kitchen. I'm very excited about this because they're taking over an old building in our ward. And I want to introduce you all to Lennox Jackson, who will introduce his team. Lennox is the president and CEO of Urban Equities. Lennox, you have the floor.
Good evening, Alderman, and thank you so much for having me and the team here this evening. I know we're sensitive on time, so we want to sort of push through it and have enough time for Q&A. Let me just introduce a few people who are here with me. With the Urban Equities team is Courtney Bronson. And then, of course, we have Aaron Beasley, who is Chef Bees, who is a key part of the Seoul City Kitchen's brand and what we're looking to do. Also joining is the Architect of Record, which is headed up by the Smith Group. Representing the Smith Group is Matt Dumich. Matt. Also Jen Vogel. Accompanying their team and providing even more value is Taylor Staten with TN Studios. I saw Taylor. Hi, Taylor. And then we also have rounding things out with a lot of capability, some names that you already know, Alderman Monica Chatta and Smith of Vassan, both with Civic Project. So this is our team. And what we've tried to do with the Seoul City Kitchen's idea is to present a proof of concept for consideration by the city to reimagine the use of 5021 South Wabash. It is currently a vacant property, 1,500 square foot building, which you're going to see in a few moments, along with some vacant land behind it. What we've also thought about over these last many months, dating back to last summer, is the idea of food. I think everyone on this Zoom would probably say that they enjoy a good meal. I would be at the top of the list with that. And so the thinking is to how do we meet the needs of chefs? We all understand the changes that continue to take place with regard to restaurants and those in the hospitality business. And so there's been a lot of disruption. And so part of the vision for Seoul City Kitchens is to help provide a solution for those chefs, to have a place where they can come, rent out space at an affordable price, and have the tools necessary to not only build a business, but to grow a business. And along the way, we're hoping that they can employ people from the community and make the community stronger. So with that in mind, I'd like to now ask Jan to lead us with the slide presentation, and then Smitha can help out.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for that introduction, Lennox. We're really excited about this project, and we just want to share a couple of things about what we've developed as a result of this concept. I think first and foremost, we want to talk about just what Seoul City Kitchens is aiming to do, and I'm not going to read this portion to you, but I'm going to call on Chef Bees to give us a quick update about just what this vision entails.
The vision entails it seeks to provide equitable access to commercial kitchen space for chefs and food entrepreneurs. So to the point that Lennox had made, it is to give everyone a fair opportunity for them to expand their business and have a equitable way, affordable way for them to be able to do that and innovate the food industry. We're starting to realize that things are starting to switch up. More people are becoming takeout restaurants. They're relying on delivery through various applications as we start to move into a new generation, I guess, or a new future for food. So that is something that we are having within our vision as well. And the main thing is like really prioritizing what the community needs. So making sure that food access is at the forefront and making sure that healthy options are really at the forefront as best as we can. So.
Thanks, Chef. So just to share a little bit about the context of this vision and hopefully what it will be, we did a quick analysis just to understand entrepreneurial support for up and coming chefs and entrepreneurs across the city. And as with many other resources at times, we're seeing a large concentration of these on the north side. And a big part of the vision that Lennox and Chef Bees are so determinedly chasing and that we're really excited to support is to bring more of this resource to the south side. So you can see we've got Seoul City Kitchens slated right here in Bronzeville, accompanied by only a couple of other names. So this would really be fulfilling a need. Jen, if you flip forward. This is the site that we're talking about. So the aim of this project is to activate a site at 5021 South Wabash, which you can see is like well positioned as far as public transit, interstate access. It's in a really great location, and we're very fortunate to have the support of Build Bronzeville right around the corner on 51st Street. Near the Boxville market. And this is going to be a big part of plugging into a greater food ecosystem to really help support entrepreneurs in the food industry to move from their kind of entrepreneurial aspirations as chefs into, people who are forming cafes and further expanding on their visions, and plugging into Build Bronzeville is a large part of that. In the next slide, Jen. Just a further look at the site where you'll see the existing building and the accompanying space beyond. So just to give a little bit more context of what we'll be providing there. And then if we go to our next slide, this is existing previously a streets and sanitation office building that was issued as an RFP from the city. And we are now looking at reactivating this into the home of Seoul City Kitchens. I don't want to be redundant. I think Lennox and Chef Bees have really covered what we're aiming to get after there, but very excited to just present, what this can be and how it could help to further activate this particular street and plug into the 51st Street ecosystem. So I think we'll just show our vision for what that could be. So there you go. And right here, what we're thinking about is a space that reactivates this building, that turns it into a place of gathering as far as providing space for the community in a few different ways, as well as providing space for the larger, I'm so sorry, my dog is going crazy, as well as providing space for the larger entrepreneurs in the back that you see there. So thank you everyone very much. And I'm going to hand it back to Lennox.
That's okay. I have a dog too, and mine barks on Zoom meetings when people walk by the window. So we completely understand.
So,
Thanks, Alderman.
Yeah. So behind this existing building, you can see part of it, but it's not very clear, is a new structure. And so the vision is to build a one-story building of approximately 8,300 square feet. And that's where all of the kitchens will be housed. Shared kitchens, what we call kitchen cubes, which are smaller in square footage, but nonetheless, all will be equipped with the tools that chefs need, both food chefs as well as pastry chefs, to do their jobs. We also have dry storage for rent. We also have freezer and cooler space for rent. And so the idea is to make this a one-stop operation that would allow for chefs to do what they do best. That is to concentrate on the food. Soul City Kitchens also seeks to remove or at least minimize the barriers. We all know someone who has a desire, has a dream to activate a new business. And there are always so many hurdles to overcome. So we're seeking to at least reduce some of the hurdles for those who are food entrepreneurs. And then lastly, one of the objectives of Soul City Kitchens is to help them figure out how to tap in through collaboration with other chefs. So part of what we're looking to do here, folks, is not only support the chefs in this immediate community, but frankly, my vision is to make this a global hub where chefs from around the country and around the world will be aware of Soul City Kitchens in Bronzeville. And if they want to come into Chicago and do a pop-up meal or something like that, they can easily connect to doing that. And then lastly, one of the ambitions that we have, I don't think it's too much of an ambition as much as it is just a desire to make it happen. And that is to tap into DeSable School across the street. I want the young people there to get introduced to food and the potential opportunities as a profession in the food industry. So we're looking to come up with some great programming that will be integrated both inside Soul City Kitchens, as well as externally to include also DeSable High School. So I think that's it for now, Alderman. I'm happy to answer questions, as well as the other team members.
Okay, before we go to questions, Bernard Lloyd, who is the president of Urban Juncture, has joined us. And in the presentation, Smitha mentioned Boxville. And I just would like for him to comment briefly on what he sees as the relationship between Boxville and this development.
Thank you, Alderman, and good evening, everyone. We're just two things. First of all, let me just say that we're very excited by this development. We think Lennox and his team have done an excellent job addressing a key need in our community broadly. So many folks need this service. With respect to the relationship to Boxville, we have Boxville, at Boxville, we have currently almost half a dozen culinary enterprises, all of whom need back of the house culinary support. And we have many more who are trying to get into Boxville and many more opportunities to grow Boxville on this dimension. So we're very excited about the possibility, the opportunity to work with Lennox and his team to bring folks who want to start their enterprise at Boxville or at our brick and mortar enterprises. We now have Freestyle as well as Ianze, but who need this resource in order to enable that step forward.
Bernard, one of the questions in the chat, in the Q&A, Lennox, is can the public just come in and regular people and walk in and purchase food?
We're still working through the programming of the development, Alderman. The vision is not for this to be a restaurant. The vision so far is for it to be a facility where chefs can come and go with their food trucks, what have you. However, I do think there's an opportunity in the existing building, as you see there, we show tables out on the new deck that would be built. I think there should be an opportunity for chefs to be able to host a test kitchen opportunity to test out a meal. But I do think it's going to be probably leaning more towards a private interaction as opposed to as though you would be walking into a restaurant. The thinking is to also provide a platform for chefs to be able to come here to grow out of it. Frankly, we don't want people to stay here forever, but to actually see themselves grow and build capacity where they may be able to go down on 51st Street and open up a storefront restaurant. And so that's part of the whole ecosystem that we're trying to plug into, that Bernard has been working with his team over a number of years to cultivate on 51st Street. So we're looking for Bernard and I and others on the team to really building out a cohesive way to meet a number of needs at Soul City Kitchens as well as along 51st Street.
Okay, if we can keep the answers a little shorter, we have a few questions here for you. Will this kitchen be on a short-term rental basis, or will there be opportunities for long-term rental?
Both.
How can people get information about applying for space now?
Well, we're not ready to receive, we don't have rental rates or anything like that prepared. However, folks can go to soulcitykitchens.com. There is a contact form there that allows for you to start to build a relationship with us, and we certainly want to stay in communication, but we don't have that information today.
Thank you. So just a comment for you. Someone says that the design is beautiful. Another one says this is really a great idea and needed for restaurants in the area. Someone said this is dope. Another person says looks very nice. So that gives you a sense of some of the feedback from the community.
Well, I think the whole team is very thankful for that kind of feedback. I think it's important that everyone knows that a lot of passion and thought has gone into this by everyone on the team. I'm excited Bernard and I have met a number of times, and I really see an opportunity here for this to be special and for the community to feel good about it.
All right. And one last thing, someone says it would be nice for your group to work with the Washburn Culinary School. All right.
Definitely open to that.
Bernard, would you stay? Because I want to ask you a question related to another project you're working on. So one of the questions we received, not related to this question, but we can answer it real quick, is what are the plans for, or what types of businesses are being targeted for the new development next to the Green Line at 43rd Street, which is the building that is currently under construction, 43 Green. And I just wanted to respond to that constituent's questions. I can't give you the names of these businesses, just suffices to say that there are letters of intent for a coffee shop, a bakery, and a full service cleaners. And right across the street, we have the Forum building. And Bernard, I was wondering if you would take a few minutes to talk about your current thinking on the Forum.
Absolutely. We have been working very hard on the Forum, and we think of the Forum as being three separate pieces: what we call the West Annex, the main Forum Hall building, and the culinary building. Our focus currently is on the West Annex, which is the three storefronts between the hall building and the train. And we've made a lot of progress there. We're calling it the Creative Complex. We are working with a number of partners to bring in a number of different kinds of creative entities into those spaces that will embrace creative entrepreneurs or folks who just enjoy creative expression in our community and beyond, and give them space to develop. So, for example, in 318, which is the space just next to the train, we will host a creative incubator, which will be a branch of the Bronzeville Incubator, a grant that's focused on the creative economy and folks who are creatives who want to create something, and we'll have resources there to facilitate that. We currently have plans in the building department for those 3 slots, and we're hopeful that by the end of this quarter, those plans will be permitted and we'll be able to start with construction. We have some of the funds in hand, and we're in the process of applying for another set of funds to complete the West Annex. But we have funds in hand right now to complete the creative incubator. Longer term, we're looking to fully redevelop the building, including the hall building, the big space at the corner to be a site of performance, be it music performance, theatrical performance, be it events and so forth. And below that, we will have a major culinary facility that will both serve the hall, but also serve the neighborhood directly. Some of us live on 43rd Street, and there aren't very many food options. There are no food options right now at 43rd and the Green Line, and so that's a key need that we are trying to serve.
Thank you, Bernard. Best wishes to you.
Thank
While they're here, I just wanted to acknowledge them. We have Donna Hampton Smith, president of the Washington Park Chamber of Commerce, and Rhonda McFarland has also joined us. She is the CEO of QCDC, Quad Communities Development Corporation. And also I want to acknowledge Sandra Bivens from the 51st Street Business Association. These are all organizations that are agencies within our community, within the ward, that can be helpful with business development and business assistance. So Lennox, thank you very much. We're going to move on to our next topic, which is the 2022 budget. We have with us Deputy Budget Director Corrales. And if you could take a few minutes just to update people on the budget.
Yes, hello everyone. Thanks, Alderman. So happy to be here. I know the budget is it's a very dense topic, so we'll try to keep it high level, but certainly if you have any questions, please feel free to ask those. And I've got just a very quick presentation here that I will share. So as the Alderman said, my name is Carrie Ann Corrales. I am one of the Deputy Budget Directors here at the Office of Budget and Management. As you maybe know, hopefully know, we just enacted our 2022 budget on January 1st. The budget for this year is nearly $17 billion. We've been trying over the last 3 or 4 years to find ways to sort of like graphically demonstrate the budget rather than forcing people to read, 600 pages worth. So this is one example of that. And so what you have at the top are all of our revenues, so all of our funds, and these are all of the funds that pay for the various services and programs for the city. And at the bottom are sort of our expenditure categories in these like large buckets. So the corporate fund used to be our largest fund. The corporate fund is the one that pays for day-to-day services, the fire department, buildings, things like that. And then since we've been receiving so many federal funds due to the pandemic, grant funds is actually this year our largest fund, totaling more than $6 billion. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. On the expenditure side, you'll see general financing is our largest category. That is where all of our citywide expenses live. So things like pension costs and healthcare for city employees, et cetera, which is why it's the largest. And next to that is infrastructure. So our CDOT, our water department, streets and sanitation, et cetera. So obviously the grant funds is the largest fund now. Our budget actually increased $4 billion from the 2021 budget, which is driven by a $3 billion increase in grants. The other increases were primarily due to things like increases in our pension costs, and we have recently renegotiated union contracts with some retroactive payments included in there as well. The biggest thing about the 2022 budget that's very exciting is that because of all of this COVID funding, we've been given a great opportunity to make some very large investments across the city. And so we went through a community engagement process all across the city. We were trying to think about how to appropriate funds holistically. And so not just thinking about, American Rescue Plan funds, but all of available resources to us to make sure that we could address all the needs as identified by, stakeholders and residents and businesses, et cetera. And so you'll see our number one sort of outcome and intended goal is to increase safety and opportunities across the city. So we heard this over and over again from all of our community engagement is that community safety is number one, right? And so we're going to achieve that through sort of like three big buckets, which is thriving in safe communities and equitable economic recovery, and then making sure that our essential government services are maintained and enhanced, as well as reducing the burden on our taxpayers. And just as a quick note, so you don't feel like I have to make sure I write all this down. All of these graphics are available on our website at chicago.gov/OBM. And so there's a lot more there as well. So this is the investment strategy for 2022. There's nearly $2 billion of investments in just these buckets alone. A lot of it is American Rescue Plan funding, but also there are things like corporate funding in these buckets. There are other grant funds. We also have some other various local funds included here as well. You'll notice affordable housing has a very significant investment of $635 million to sort of like expand and maintain existing affordable housing. I know that the mayor was very proud about our arts and culture investment. This is not just American Rescue Plan. There is a $10 million of corporate resources funded in arts and culture this year. Mental health was also something we heard over and over again. This is like a number one key priority for everyone across the city. So the 2022 budget included $86 million in that. We'll talk a little bit more about violence prevention in a minute, but the violence prevention budget is just simply those investments directed towards violence prevention activities. So that it does not include any funding for the police department. And then environmental justice, this was also something we heard a lot about. So making sure that we have a climate mitigation strategy and how are we adapting our environmental strategies, as well as thinking about environmental justice and how do we bring that across the city. So this is the largest environmental justice investment the city has ever made at $188 million. And I won't go through all of these, but I think we're all very proud of how hard we worked to make sure that, these were the investments that were most important to everybody across the city so we can make sure to deliver on this. The one thing I do really want to mention is because we get asked a lot, like, how do we know what the outcomes and what you're achieving with this? And so we've been working very hard for the last couple of months to implement a whole variety of dashboards. And we just launched our brand new site. So there's a Chicago Recovery Plan website where we're going to post all of our dashboards that will measure both financial outcomes as well as programmatic outcomes. Right now, it's sort of like in the early stages, but you can find it at chicago.gov/recovery plan. And so we will also be posting things like opportunities for delegate agencies or opportunities for contractors or job opportunities, or if you need financial assistance as like a resident, how can you be linked to those resources? And so the goal is for it to be like an all-in-one site where everything will live there. And so if you ever have questions about, what's going on with American Rescue Plan funding, I need assistance, or, I have a great delegate agency program that I'd like to find funding for, all of that information will be posted there. I know we also wanted to just briefly talk about property tax. This was obviously a high focus during the budget this year. We did include a modest property tax increase in the 22 budget. The increase of $76.5 million includes an increase for our capital bond that was approved not this last budget cycle, but the year before that. That funds our our bond programming. And then we also included an increase for consumer price index, which was something that was approved by City Council actually 2 years ago. The idea is that obviously inflation happens every year. So if we keep property tax up with inflation, then you won't ever have to see like a big, huge jump like we saw in 2015. So that way the increase is aligned with inflation. And we saw some organizations like the Civic Federation do an analysis of the CPI. And basically what they said was, if we adjust the CPI, then it's really not an increase, right? Like if we're adjusting for inflation, then ultimately the increase, it's not like a jumped increase. But this is a great chart that specifically shows the impact of this specific increase on the third ward. It is expected that an average home would see an additional $2.91 on the property tax bill. The other thing I want to mention here is this increase actually will not be seen on your property tax bill until 2023. So property tax is always in arrears. So when we include a property tax in, for instance, the 22 budget, your 22 property tax bill you do not receive until the following year. So you won't see this increase this year, you'll see it the following year. And then finally, I know public safety is on everybody's mind, as we already mentioned. You know, this was something we heard a lot in community engagement. And so in addition to obviously the resources for the Chicago Police Department, I did mention briefly the $135 million for violence prevention activities. So what this includes are lots of services to youth, a victim service program, which I know we heard a lot about needing the support for victims of gun violence. And then our brand new Community Safety Coordination Center, or the Cscc. So this is a model that is basically taking the learnings from the pandemic, which is when we coordinate city services, we can all come together to like solve a problem. And so the Cscc is going to be really focused on not just police addressing, you know, the violence in the city, but how can we leverage, you know, business affairs? How can we leverage the Department of Buildings? How can we bring in streets and sanitation to all have an all hands on deck approach to community safety? And then also something that we wanted to share as well is we're, you know, very aware that addressing violence is more than the police. It's more than like direct impacts, and trying to think about that, though that's important. It's also things like making sure that people have access to affordable housing, that people have access to services, that there are ways to help communities develop their business, you know, centers, and bringing people to the community for those businesses as well. And so the budget does include another $400 million to support those types of supports that would also have an impact on community violence as well. So that's the end of my presentation, but I'm certainly happy to answer questions. Stop sharing.
Thank you, Deputy Director Corrales. And as I'm looking in the Q&A, I don't see any questions for you. So I want to thank you for your presentation. Yeah. And hope that you have a great budget year. It's been great working with you and the budget director, Susie Parks, who has been out to our community as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Moving right along, our next presentation is, we're getting close to the end, guys, is an update on Pete's Fresh Market. And we have with us Zeb McLaurin from McLaurin Development. He's the president and CEO. Zeb?
Hi, Alderman. Good afternoon, Third Ward, or good evening, I should say. Hopefully you're seeing my screen now.
No.
Oh, oh, there we go.
No.
Now we are. Hi, everyone. So I think many people may be aware of our announced grocer anchored project at the northwest corner of 39th and State Street, anchored by Pete's Fresh Market. Thank you, Alderman, for, of course, your support in helping us push this along. I want to also give a significant shout out to Representative Lamont Robinson, who procured some state funding for us to help with some of the infrastructure work that will be necessary. And then also, Alderman, of course, in helping us in the city to demolish the Crispus Attic School that was formerly located on the hard northwest corner of 39th and State Street, which would be part of the footprint for the entire development. So Pete's Fresh Market is eagerly awaiting to get started on this project. We're working on finalizing a development schedule with them as we complete entitlements with the city of Chicago, which may require vacating some portions of Dearborn Street north of Pershing Road to make way for a large footprint of approximately 11 acres for the development. We have had some significant progress with a number of other co-anchor national tenancy that might be joining Pete's Fresh Market, but our goal is to be in the ground this year to start the Pete's construction so they can be open by early next year. Some of these renderings may look familiar. These are some of the architectural renderings and schematics of the building that we've previously presented with some community input, the typical Pete's Fresh Market store. But however, the beauty is that they are able to customize their shelf offerings based upon community input and the community served. Many of you, if you've experienced a Pete's Fresh Market, a significant amount of fresh produce, fresh meats section, as well as a significant prepared food section as well. And they're looking forward to bringing that to the Bronzeville community as well. The project, as I mentioned, is starting to move forward as with the demolition of the former Crispus Attics building at the hard northwest corner. And the city is making way as we complete environmental studies for remediation of the site and then site preparation for construction to start later this year. That's all I have.
Sorry, Chairman, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian, for bringing that to my attention. The comments here, there seems no questions yet. Pete Market plan looks great. Yay, we want Pete's. But I would like for you, Zeb, to, because we've been waiting for Pete's for a while. If you could just maybe speak to, from your perspective, what the delay has been since this was presented in 2019.
Yes. So in 2019, we culminated several community meetings with both residents in late 2018, as well as CHA constituents and CHA residents in early 2019. That was necessary to facilitate the potential land swap between the city and CHA and HUD to effectuate this transaction. Obviously in 2019, we had a new administration come in, and then unfortunately COVID hit, which caused a significant amount of delays across the board, across all sectors. And even though grocery has been a hot commodity and a very significant industry for the last 2+ years, it has slowed down their development schedule across the board, not just Pete's Fresh Market. Many of you are aware of the supply chain issues that exist with food, but it also unfortunately exists in the construction and built environment as well. And as we are all coping with the increased pricing on construction costs, the delay of material for construction, especially of building of this size and magnitude, 60,000+ square feet, we hope that we're nearing the end of that delay cycle and can start construction again, hopefully this year. But primarily from COVID, and then getting our arms around the new entitlement program from the city.
Okay, there are two more questions and then one from me. How important is it to hire from within the community?
Extraordinarily important. Part of our discussions and agreements with both the city and CHA, that there will be jobs specifically targeted for community residents and CHA or former CHA residents as well. As an example, we developed a target at the former Cabrini Green site as well, where 100 of those jobs were specifically earmarked for CHA residents and constituents. And we expect the same type of robust outreach activity to local residents as well as CHA residents to be employed and be vendors and other business opportunities at Pete's as well.
And Zeb, you might just want to add that I know part of your development team includes residents of the ward. I can't think of his first name, was skipping me right now, Kelsey
Taylor, yes, our civil
Taylor,
engineer
right.
of record is Kelsey Taylor, a resident in the third ward, yes.
Right, okay.
And we have an all minority development team, legal, architecture, et cetera, general contractor, et cetera.
Okay, another question, looks great, but why is it so close to Mariano's on King Drive?
Land availability. These stores require a significant footprint. And unfortunately or fortunately, there is no other site that's available to provide for a store of this size and magnitude. At State Street, however, we and all the stores believe that this adequate distance so that there is not any crossover of shopping experiences, and locating along State Street, a major thoroughfare similar to King Drive, the ability to draw patrons from the west side of the expressway, as well as north and south as well. There are obviously preferred shoppers or shopping experiences. Mariano's has done a great job in servicing the Bronzeville community, but I think especially as the community grows, more food options, more business options, more retail options are best for everyone.
I want to add to that. I agree. I think that it creates a great sense of competition. You know, I look at what happened to the Jewel on 35th Street when Mariano's moved in. You know, now they're investing in that Jewel. So, you know, it's great to have options where people can, you know, go to Mariano's or Pete's Fresh Market, a Jewel or Fair Play or Aldi's or wherever they plan to go. But I think competition is great. Here's a question. I think this is the last one for you, and then there's a part of it that's for me. What are the next steps? What can we, the community, do to help this great project move forward?
Next steps, or probably the similar answers to both questions. Support. Not only just for this project, but as your community members know, anything that the community needs, wants, desires, they must support you in order for you to then go down to City Hall and fight for your community to receive the resources and investment to result in projects like this that are desirable to the community and to the third ward residents. So I think just being cognizant and aware of projects as they're coming down the pipe, to spend money in our neighborhoods as developments like this come online. Lennox just presented a great program and a repurpose of the old Streets and Sand building on Wabash. Bernard obviously doing the same with Boxville, as well as the new developments on 43rd Street. So I think as we get more options like that in our communities, we must spend our dollars there so that those businesses can grow. And then we won't even have as many opportunities of vacant land available that we will have this debate about. So I think support, both economic and political, to you to help us get these across the finish line.
And I would add that if the community members would actually take a moment and pin a email to lori.lightfoot@cityofchicago.org, just to say that you want the Pete's Fresh Market on 39th and State Street is also helpful. The other question, which is for me, which is, how does this project fit in with the balance of the State Street Corridor Redevelopment? Well, to the person who sent me this, as you know, State Street has long been what has been CHA developments all the way from, we could start at 22nd Street and go all the way to 55th Street. And while I think the CHA plan for transformation is good and something that I support, I do believe that we should have other uses along State Street to sort of balance out that corridor. So you will begin to see, I know that they have all of their tax credits and money. You will begin to see State Way or Park Boulevard begin to expand further south. You will begin to see some new development taking place in Legend South, which is around 44th, 45th and State Street. We hope to try to identify some other commercial uses along State Street. It just cannot be a residential haven. So I hope that that answers your question, constituent. There's one more question for you, Zeb, and then we want to move on to our last presentation of the night. They want to know about how much leasable space will be available outside of Pete's, and have you identified some additional tenants? And have you discussed with the CHA the importance of having some local small businesses at the site so that they're providing financial support to assure that it's rentable to local businesses?
Yes, so yeah, the entire project is 11 acres on the north side of Pershing Road. We also own the southwest corner of 39th and State as well. But our phase 1 program is concentrated on the north side of the street. There is room, and we are programming approximately 200,000 square feet of commercial development, combination of retail and some other mixed uses. We anticipate that will include some retail and potentially residential as well, yet to be determined. And certainly there is room, and our pedigree is built upon identifying local businesses and entrepreneurs and helping them grow. And so we, irrespective of CHA mandate, that is part of our business plan and how we have developed across the city. And certainly CHA has always encouraged us to find opportunities for local businesses as well as resident-owned businesses for projects of this magnitude, both from a vendor perspective as well as construction opportunities. And we will continue to do that as well. But given where we are located, the chance to draw from a wide area to the 39th and State corridor, we look at this as a tremendous opportunity for local businesses to be next door to national tenants that are going to draw a different clientele to help expose their goods and services to a broader marketplace.
Right. To the constituent that wanted to know if this was on DPD's priority list, especially with Invest Southwest commitments, the answer is yes. This is on my priority list, and Invest Southwest doesn't get done if my priorities don't get done as well. So yes, these are priority projects for the department. Lastly, and then we'll move on, community wealth building, is this a component of the project?
For sure. As I mentioned, our entire development team are local and primarily or all African-American members. We again try to identify local businesses. We've had great, robust discussions with some existing businesses that are in and around the Bronzeville neighborhood that will grow into secondary, if not multiple locations, including here at 39th and State. And so if the question is about wealth building or opportunities for ownership, there will obviously be ways for the community to participate in that regard as we get closer to an actual groundbreaking.
Okay, just a comment here. CHA put dollars in 4400 Grove that supports small businesses. Do not let them do it here. I don't understand that question. To the person who sent it to me, anonymous attendee, would you please send me an email at ward03@cityofchicago.org and let me know what this is specifically. Seb, thank you so much for your time, your patience really with this project, and your commitment to our community. We are glad that Pete's Fresh Market is still committed to Bronzeville, and I commit myself to work harder with you to get this over the finish line. Thank you. Am I frozen or is Zeb frozen?
Thank you, Alderman.
Okay. Our last presentation for the night is the Obama Presidential Library. I want to say hello to a friend of mine from the past, Tammy Davis. Good to see you here. Thank you so much. Kelly Powers Berea, thank you so much. I know you too. And I want to just turn it over. I don't know who I'm turning it over to, but Eric Puckett was my contact. So I'm going to turn it over to him and he can do what needs to be done. Eric?
I'm going to turn it over to Tammy.
All right.
And I was going to turn it over to Kelly. So let's just get started. How about that? Why don't we just get started? I will introduce Chris Harris, who is the procurement manager working on Lakeside's team. And he will be leading our presentation. You've already been introduced to Eric Puckett, but I am Tammy Davis, the manager of business and workforce diversity for the Obama Foundation and the Obama Presidential Center. I do go back a ways in working with Alderman Dowell, and so we are just happy and pleased that we can talk about employment and contracting opportunities for residents and businesses. So now I'll turn it over to Chris Harris, our procurement agent, who is also working with us on diversity, and he'll take it from there. Chris?
Awesome. Thank you, Tammy. I appreciate it. So first off, we appreciate your time, Alderwoman Dow, for helping us and allowing us an opportunity to share with your constituents about our general project update on the Obama Presidential Center, as well as bid opportunities for both construction related and non-construction related services. So we're very excited to be here and share this information with you. First, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce everyone or your constituents to Kelly Powers Berea. She's going to lead us off about who is Lakeside Alliance. So take it away, Kelly.
Thanks, Chris. So I'm Kelly Powers Berea. I am part of the project leadership team for Lakeside Alliance, and I am also a co-lead of our diversity, equity, and inclusion work group. And very happy to be here with all of you this evening. So I know we're last, I believe, on the agenda, so I will try to be brief going through my slides, but we did just want to give you a brief introduction to who Lakeside Alliance is. So Lakeside Alliance is a joint venture of 5 firms, Turner Construction, as well as 4 African-American owned general contractors in Chicago, both on the South Side and also on the West Side. Powers and Sons, we actually are in the 3rd Ward ourselves. So our 4 African-American owned general contractors are Powers and Sons, Ujamaa, Brown and Moman, and Safeway. And the 5 of us make up the joint venture that is known as Lakeside Alliance, who is a construction manager for the Obama Center project. We've actually been working together for 4 years now on this project. It's been quite a journey. And we came together 4 years ago with the mission and vision to use the construction of the Obama Presidential Center to transform how construction is done in the city of Chicago. We want to use this project as a vision to, as it says here, inspire and empower people to change the world. So I'll let Chris, next slide. So look, what are we building? So the Obama Presidential Center, for those of you who are not familiar yet, is a collection of 4 different components. So we have the tower or the museum itself, which would be on the left side of your screen. The forum, which would have classroom and auditorium type space there. And then the library, which would be will be a branch of the Chicago Public Library. And then there also is a parking garage, which is a separate component as well. So as we go through and we're talking about what some of the bid opportunities are on this project, I think it's important to note that there are these distinct parts to the overall project, which allows businesses of many different sizes, from small to large, to have direct contract opportunities because contracts can be focused on just one of the buildings or on multiple buildings at the same time. So the timeline for the construction of the project, we did break ground in the fall. President Obama and First Lady did our official groundbreaking. Unfortunately, because of COVID, which was a much different experience than we all would have liked, but we did have the exciting groundbreaking there. We are doing right now a lot of work that you cannot really see, even if you drive right next to the fence, because we are doing underground work. So we are digging caissons right now, work that's just very difficult to see because it's underground, and we will be doing all underground work through almost the end of this year. The superstructure tower and the museum will start rising above the ground. So in the first quarter of next year, when you drive by, you'll actually be able to see buildings coming out of the ground, which is very exciting. It's crazy to think that it'll be like 5 years since when we started before you'll be able to see something coming out of the ground. But that happens in the first quarter of 2023. And then we have project substantial completion towards the end of 2024. And the grand opening is planned for mid-2025. So this project, as you can see, it is not a sprint. We will be in construction for almost 4 more years. So we have a ways to go, but we're very excited to be here talking to you today about our upcoming bid packages that are going to be released here this month as well as next month. Turn it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you, Kelly. Along with the process, so you've seen the timeline. Now we wanted to share what we're upholding both to the community and to our client, the Barack Obama Foundation, in our efforts to build the Obama Presidential Center. So we're very proud to have to rise the bar as far as diversity and inclusion standards are concerned with diverse enterprises. That's our goal in our effort to make sure that we're soliciting as many diverse businesses as possible, especially in the city of Chicago and the surrounding communities. So as you can see here, it's our goal for Lakeside Alliance in our effort to build this project is that we achieve 35% MBE participation, 10% WBE participation, 5% BEPD participation, VBE, and LGBTQ participation combined, and then 7% local business enterprises, making sure that we're reaching out to our subcontractors and also soliciting joint venture opportunities for our bidders that are pursuing this project to consider local businesses within the surrounding communities of the Jackson Park neighborhood, which also includes the 3rd Ward. Our project considers the 3rd Ward a local community, just for everyone's reference. So again, we have direct construction related bid packages that are available that you can view on our website. We want to be as transparent as possible because we created the bid packages in such a way that we wanted to reduce barriers of entry because we know that this is a very exciting, transformative, and historic project for the city of Chicago and the nation for that matter. So we want to make sure that we're allowing as many opportunities for people and businesses to participate as much as possible. You can also see that our workforce goals for this project are 50% City of Chicago participation, as well as targeting the 35% of that participation being from the south and west sides of Chicago and 10% from local residents. This was very important from our client to make sure that we considered the south and west sides because these communities are historically marginalized. So we want to make sure that people in the community are able to participate and do the work. Too many times, in the past, there have been controversies in the past that come out, you work in the community, and you leave out and you go to the suburbs. That's not the case here. We want to make sure that we have that opportunity to make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable to the community and making sure that we're including as many local businesses and diverse businesses as possible. Also, we wanted to make sure that everyone recognized that we do recognize local and national certifications. So if you're a MBE or WBE and you're not specifically certified in the city of Chicago, we accept that as well. Although the city of Chicago would be great and ideal for our direct construction trade related packages, we still accept national certifications as well. So just to give everyone a general view of what bid packages are available in the pipeline, we just recently released our flooring bid packages, resilient carpet and resinous flooring, as well as wood flooring. And this past Tuesday, there will be 4 weeks to bid each bid package. And also in early February, the first week of February, we intend to release auditorium equipment bid packages, as well as asphalt, pavement, landscaping, site earthwork bid packages as well as vehicular control and high density files. And then in the end of February, on the 22nd, we anticipate releasing for bid our painting and wall covering, window treatments, unit pavers, site concrete, Division 10 items, book depository and fireplace, coat racks, demountable partitions, operable partitions, loading dock equipment, and food service equipment. All of those bid packages will be available on the 22nd of February. And be sure to follow our website at lakesidealliance.com. There you'll find our bid packages and you'll see what's in the pipeline to bid. Now we are on our last stretch of bid packages. So the packages you see before you on your screen, those are the remaining bid packages that we have left for direct construction related work. So if there is a bid package that you wanted to be involved in, for example, maybe mechanical, electrical, or maybe drywall, rough carpentry, those bid packages have been let last year, but they have not been awarded. So there is an opportunity that you can, again, go to our website at lakesidealliance.com. You can click contracting opportunities, and there's a drop-down menu for potential bidders, and we post all of our potential bidders on our website, whether they desire to bid as a first-tier prime subcontractor with the intent to have a contract with Lakeside Alliance, or a second-tier trade partner with the intent of being a subcontractor. We post all of those interested contractors that are actively bidding on our website. So you as an individual business can reach out to them if you desire to participate and figure out a way to partner, JV, figure out a way where you can carve out scope so you can all work together. But that's our goal, again, is being transparent and making sure that we're providing as many opportunities to the community as possible. So next I'm going to pass the slide next to the Barack Obama Foundation, Tammy Davis. And Tammy, if you could take it away, explaining opportunities with the Barack Obama Foundation.
Thank you so much, Chris. So in addition to the construction opportunities, there are also non-construction professional services and supply opportunities to contract direct with the foundation. Currently, we have an RFP out for material testing and inspection services. And we are looking to release an RFP for interactive and media production and a number of other professional services opportunities directly with us. So we want to know who you are. We are also starting conversations about post-construction. Once we're complete and we're ready to open up the doors to the public, we're already talking about what's actually going to go inside of the buildings. And so we need to know who you are. We had an individual contact us about managing the parking garage. We had another minority woman-owned business that talked about personal sanitary supplies that's going to go into the bathrooms. So we need to know who you are as we engage in these conversations and planning for post-construction and professional services. Please go to obama.org/OPC-vendors, or you can grab your cell phones right now and add your camera to your computer and do the QR code and go directly to register in our database. I strongly suggest that you also, if you are on LinkedIn, to like the Lakeside Alliance page. There you will get automatic updates and postings about some of the work and outreach events that's going on. But we definitely want to know who you are for direct opportunities with the foundation. And of course, we are one band, one sound. This is a team approach, definitely as to how we are building the Presidential Center, but also in building the community. And so in addition to focusing on contracting opportunities, we're also focusing on making sure that individuals from the community get into our construction trade union apprenticeship programs and also get gainfully employed on the site or with other projects throughout the city. And so the foundation has pulled together 4 organizations that we call the We Can Build It Consortium. Those 4 organizations consist of Hire 360, Chicago Women in Trades, Revolution Workshop, and St. Paul Community Development Ministries. We have partnerships with the carpenters as well as the electricians union. And I believe we have with us real quickly Sharon Lotson, who is with Chicago Women in Trades, to tell you quickly about how individuals in the 3rd Ward can gain access to these construction employment opportunities. Sharon?
Thank you so much, Tammy, and thank you, Alderman Dow, for having us here today. As Tammy has mentioned, the Obama Foundation is committed to employing a diverse workforce group of people to build this incredible center. And in doing so, they formed what is called the We Can Build It Consortium. So what we're about is really preparing the community with the educational training, the pre-apprenticeship training, the tutoring, the test prep to get into apprenticeship programs. We know that there are barriers in our community that keep our community residents from being a part of these incredible career opportunities. And we provide that training so that they can get into those pre-apprenticeship training programs. We connect the community as well with contractors to identify job opportunities. And we connect union card holders with qualified candidates for the jobs as well. And then we talk about how we can retain the community, because it's not only about the Obama Presidential Center, which is absolutely fantastic. It is about how community residents can build a career in the trades as a whole. So the Obama Foundation is committed to having that diverse workforce, but that diverse workforce will also be able to leave the Obama Presidential Center and work on some of these other major projects. And these incredible projects that we just heard about tonight, such as Pete's and Soul City Kitchen. So we want to make sure that these community residents are able to access these type of jobs by being trained in these programs. Chris, you want to go to the next slide? Whoop, I think I lost my
Okay, there we go. All right.
Okay, I know we're like really close to having your stomachs growling at this point if you did not rush in like I did to get dinner. So I'm going to be as brief as I can, just to let you know that Chicago Women in Trades have been around for over 40 years, providing pre-apprenticeship training for women who want to build a career in the trades. As Tammy mentioned, Hire 360 has been providing test prep and tutoring for individuals who really believe that they can go in and take these apprenticeship tests, but they need that jump start to help them make sure that they pass those tests. Revolution Workshops, St. Paul. We are a diverse group of very committed workforce partners that will help the community get these jobs. You know, how are we going to help these young men and women off the streets and get them to understand that this is a career for them? How are we going to be able to help young women who are in dead-end jobs and have families and to ask themselves, how am I going to live off of $12 an hour? Well, here's how they can do this. They can get into these trades, build a career in these trades, have pension plans, have health insurance, be able to buy a home and a car. But it takes time, it takes energy, it takes commitment from organizations like the Obama Presidential Center and commitment from organizations such as We Can Build It to guide and help these community residents, our community residents, build a career in the trades. So that is what we do. We target our communities, we go into our communities, we recruit from our communities, we talk to the residents, we talk to the union card holders, we address the barriers that they have. And one of the major barriers our community residents have had in recruitment are driver's license. You have to have a driver's license to get into these kind of programs. And we saw that as one of the barriers. We're addressing those barriers. We're trying to help and assist them with getting their license back. Also, community residents are aware that if you have had a challenging early life and you may have been in the system, one of the few careers that you can most certainly get into if you've had a challenging life and you are a returning citizen. There's opportunities here beyond anyone's imagination. After we build this incredible center, there is expected to be over $100 billion worth of projects throughout the city of Chicago. So not only are we here for this incredible project and to have our community residents be a part of this bill, we're here to help them build a career so they can continue on and be able to have a sustainable career throughout their lifetime. So I hope I've done enough of my preaching for the night right before you're ready to have dinner. Tammy, thank you so much, and Chris and Alderman Dow. And we're here to answer any questions you may have about We Can Build It, a community partnership for jobs in construction.
And thank you, Sharon. And right before we get into questions, I just want to add too that, I mean, as you can see, this is really a holistic approach. And I'm very excited and proud of our client for leading this effort, because we hope that this project will serve as a roadmap for other developers, not only in the city of Chicago, but across the nation, to understand how you can build in a diverse and equitable way. So we definitely commend our client's efforts on that. And you can see that it's reflected here on our team. You know, and this doesn't just end with, you know, making awards to bidders, right? You know, and making awards and making subcontract awards, but really it goes into, we look for transformative ideas from each of our bidders to give back to the community, and they're scored as such. You know, 40% of their score is reflected in diversity and inclusion. So when we make a recommendation to our client, the largest component of, you know, our scoring process, you know, is diversity and inclusion. Now there are others that make up the 60%, but diversity and inclusion alone makes up the largest component, 40% alone. So with that effort, you know, we have Eric Puckett here that will, you know, make sure that, you know, our subcontractors are leading and making sure that they're executing on the transformative ideas that they've made in their subcontracts. So that can be having lunch and learns with local high school students, or creating internships for young people in the community. This is, you know, I've seen this through the pipeline, you know, as we you make awards to several subcontractors, and they're making these commitments and we're holding them accountable. But really, I can't wait to see all of the transformative ideas actually come to life and be executed. That's how important this project is to us, and you know, this is how much it's going to make an impact and difference in the community. So we're very excited about that. And now we'll open up the floor to any questions.
Thank you, Chris, for your presentation. I just wanted to thank Lakeside Alliance. It's great to see the Chicago women in trades here this evening in the trenches for a long time doing big work. And so I'm glad to see you connected to this project. Of course you would be, right? Couple of questions. One, how is Lakeside Alliance being intentional about creating joint ventures with subcontractors or general contractors and subcontractors? How are you being intentional in that for organizations or companies that don't quite have all the experience they need?
Sure, absolutely. I think that's an excellent question. So what we do is we have what we call virtual mixers. So we find that there are times in certain bid packages where our first tier prime subcontractors that probably have a little bit more bandwidth or capacity to handle the project alone, but they need to have their diverse enterprise participation in order to be successful on this project. You know, there was a communication gap in the beginning where it's like, hey, I don't know who to reach out to, or I've never talked to this company before, and that was kind of vice versa with some of the smaller contractors that desire to participate or pursue a particular bid package. So what we did was we had a virtual space, what we call a virtual mixer. We give everyone a script, which is more so like an elevator pitch about your company, what bid package you're interested in pursuing, you know, how long have you been in business, you know, just a general overview about, you know, your company. And we have that space virtually for our prime subcontractors and our second tier trade partners that desire to partner with a prime subcontractor. We create that space where, hey, you can either join or create a joint venture, or you can have your traditional prime first tier contractor relationship and second tier contractor relationship. We want to have and create spaces for companies to meet and to get to know one another, because again, you know, this isn't business as usual. So Lakeside Alliance leads that effort to create these spaces for particular bid packages where we're seeing that, hey, you know, we don't see many of our first tiers communicating with our second tiers. How do we make that happen? So we offer those spaces. And then we also offer, you know, on our website at lakesidealliance.com, we post our potential bidders on our website, both first tier and second tier. So if you happen to miss that virtual mixer, you can just simply go to our website when that bid package is active, and you can contact that estimator directly from that company to let them know your desire to be involved. Because ultimately, when they submit a proposal to Lakeside Alliance, we're looking at their bid form to ensure that they're providing us a holistic bid, and that includes including diverse enterprises to meet our diverse enterprise goals and exceed them. And, you know, the best contractor, you know, is recommended for that. So, you know, along with our website and having the virtual mixers, that's really our intent, to be able to foster an environment to create joint venture relationships or traditional first tier, second tier contractor relationships.
Chris, can I just jump in? I wanted to also add that we will be having a couple of in-person networking events geared towards these upcoming bid packages. The first week of February and then probably the first week of March. So stay tuned for more information on those networking opportunities.
Thank you very much, Kelly and Chris. Last question, and then we can wrap up for the evening. How does a school connect to you? I'm thinking of Phillips High School or DuSable High School. How do those young people connect?
Sure. So I would say that the best connect would be Eric Puckett. I have Eric Puckett is on the line. Eric can drop his contact information in the chat. But if you're a school or institution that desires to be connected somehow, we can get you on board because our subcontractors are looking for partners, or they're looking for opportunities where they can get back into the community. And for some subcontractors that aren't used to doing this, they really don't know where to start. They genuinely want to do something, but they just really don't know what avenue to start. So if we have, you know, stakeholders or institutions that, you know, waving their hand like, hey, I want to be involved. How can, you know, subcontractors come out to my school and speak to my students? Definitely let us know who you are so that we can help make a match between you and some of our subcontractors.
Okay, so we'll reach out to Eric.
Seawit, I'm sorry. So between
Yes, Tammy.
Eric and We Can Build It, those two will be prime contacts for high schools and our academic connections.
And Alderman Dow, the city of Chicago in March is going to host a trade fair at McCormick Place, where they're going to invite over 1,000 students. The trades will be there. We Can Build It can be there. Lakeside will be there. Really letting these young people know what these career options are. And Tammy and I were just on a call right before Christmas talking to career counselors at CPS schools about the opportunities for young people to get into the trades. They start at 18, they could actually be retiring at 35. You know, which is what I had hoped I would have been able to do, but they could be able to retire at 35 with a pension plan and excellent healthcare benefits if we can catch them early and show them that this is a route they can take.
Thank you very much.
We'll email you that flyer, Alderwoman.
Thank you, Tammy. So I want to thank you all for being here this evening and for the presentation on the exciting happenings over there in what's that, Woodlawn? You should be in Washington Park, but that's another subject. I just want to thank you all and everyone here this evening for attending the town hall meeting for the 3rd Ward. I did want to answer one question that came in from a constituent who I hope is still on the line. And that question was, what am I doing about all the accidents at 44th and Michigan? So I actually passed an accident that happened, I believe that was Saturday night or Sunday night. I was driving by 44th and Michigan, and there was a car sitting in the middle of Michigan Avenue who had been hit and totaled really by a car that was going east or west along 44th Street. So I wanted to let the constituent know that we've put in a request for better corner clearances. And we're also having designed out bump outs that you find at 44th and Indiana to slow down traffic and to make it more intentional movement through that intersection. So I wanted to let that constituent know. I want to urge everyone that if you haven't got your vaccinations, to please get your vaccinations and your boosters to protect yourself against COVID-19. The only way we're going to get out of this pandemic is if we can get ourselves, most people, vaccinated and boosted. I think it saves lives, and if you do get the COVID, your symptoms are much less. Lastly, I just wanted to acknowledge that we got a lot of questions about from constituents in Washington Park who had questions on the Schultz Bakery, on development along Prairie, on some of those vacant lots, and business development in Washington Park. So what I think I'm going to do is have a Washington Park only focused town hall meeting. I'll try to do that sometime in February. If you have more questions, please email me at ward03@cityofchicago.org. Again, thank you all for spending a couple hours with us tonight. And I wish everyone a happy rest of the week and a productive rest of the week. Good night. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.